Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Sorry for the wait. I've been doing lots of traveling the last few weeks. Let's dive right into it. What's happening with Bitcoin? Obviously, we have had a bit of a downward move. Now, on the daily chart, this is an active bearish expansion. And there's one thing I would like to point out to you. This is the 140 period standard deviation, or Bollinger Band. Bollinger Bands. What we're going to do is change this to the 140 period. On the third standard deviation, goodness gracious, that is a tremendously strong bearish expansion. We are trending outside the 3.2 of the longest overexpanded period. Now, there is one important thing to note here. On the daily chart, we do have this bout of converse expansion, where we have an upward push immediately followed by the mean inversion, where the bottom edge of the standard deviation, the 1.25, acts as a brief barrier before it gives out. And what I would like to point out is on the 8-hour chart, this does completely taper off before the new expansion, right? So down here, it's the 100 period. It levels out to green on this candle. And what happens after this candle? We have the start of our new bearish expansion. Now, this expansion is so strong that we're re-expanding volatility overhead. So that implies there's an incredible amount of force behind this move, which also implies that any higher time frame supports would be unlikely to hold, right? That's why we're able to see the 3.2 standard deviation failing on the daily chart, because typically it would act as a barrier to prevent any significant moves beyond that point. As we can see here, we're plowing straight along it. So, not great. We do not have a bounce pivot. This is free, uncontrolled movement. This will end when it wants to end, and there is not a good metric for defining when it will stop. Even down here on our lower time frames, because this is an expanding and then re-expanding and then re-expanding move, our volatility is expanding, 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 and it plows through the overhead every time. Because of this, our 3D wave PM is getting jagged and unpredictable. So very hard to find a pivot point upward and very hard to find a stopping point downwards. So the only thing that I would consider to make Bitcoin safe to trade is if it proceeded to do nothing. If it went up, I wouldn't trust it. If it went down, I don't know how I would enter because we don't have a good upward pivot to bounce off of. So if Bitcoin does nothing and all of this gets a chance to relax, that would give me a lot more confidence into making a new play. For the time being, this is volatility exceeding the parameters of good sailing conditions. So let's take a look at your questions. And this might be brief because of the volatility on Bitcoin. There is not going to be a lot of viable pivots on the altcoins. Link is surprisingly stable, all things considered. It has a very slow and meandering loss of value, which is good because Link tends to be very cyclical. Now, because Link is a vehicle inside of the larger vehicle of Bitcoin, If you buy a link because it's neutral and sometimes it goes up and sometimes it goes down, you're still going to see a loss of value if Bitcoin continues to trend bearishly. Ethereum very clean mean reversion. This is not a great pivot. 8-hour chart should be cleaner. Yeah. So this excellent trend breaks here, bearish mean reversion, neutral trading. So neutral chart. Next up, let's take a look at XAU USD. Gold. So gold is behaving very uncharacteristically with how sustained this trend is. Last live stream, we talked about how this 1.25 standard deviation is a great pivot for entry, and that has been holding up as clearly as can be. Right? 'Cause typically, gold doesn't have sustained trends outside of the 1.25 standard deviation. This has been very clean. I'm kind of surprised. So same pivot. Not seeing signs of exhaustion on the daily chart, or the 8-hour chart, excuse me. Cool. How's the 4-hour looking? This is actually very good. When you have this much green, when you're on an upward trend in a higher time frame, that's kind of a best case scenario. Because if we are in an active state of trending on a higher time frame, on a lower time frame, we have nothing but potential energy. It's a good sign. Now there is volatility overhead here at the 220 period. What we can do is we can use that as a sort of swing high, swing low. So 220, Bollinger Band. I would like this on the 1.25 standard deviation. Beautiful. Look how clean that is. So my prediction is we would bounce down from here back onto that defined pivot on the 8-hour chart and either see trend resumption. If this pivot breaks, expect a swing low on the lower 1.25 standard deviation, and then a return to the mean, currently at 36, but that will rise over time. So your scenarios are down, bounce up, or trend down, bounce up, mean. So keep an eye on your pivots. Otherwise, this is a shockingly clear chart for gold. It's very tradable. Now let's take a look at Doge. Doge BTC. Okay. Look, if you just want to ride the pump and dump, go ahead. Just buy now, set a sell for 100%, see what happens. Okay? Cemented itself as meme status. Just buckle in. Like either this slowly dies or it continues its cycle. So high risk, high reward. Double your money or bleed a slow, painful death. Up to you. Have fun. All right, folks. That was it. I'm going to keep this a little bit short, but I will stream more frequently than my past schedule. It has been a pleasure. I'll talk to you all in realistically 12 days. Have a good one.